Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, where it's been far too long since I've been able to introduce the Protoss player in the blue, the former GSL champion. We have Trap up against his former nemesis, the Lord of the Lings, in the red, Dong Ray Gu. DRG, best of 3, PVZ, to start things off, and already Adept shading across the map and giving me so little time to beg you for likes. And if you haven't made it there yet, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? What? 1,355 likes on this video, on this cast, on this series. A bit of a nostalgic one, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get a little bit better. I don't know what year it was when I last cast this matchup. Both of them have completed and returned from their obligatory military service. Trap, once considered arguably the best Protoss, probably the best Protoss in the world for at least a couple years, and always near the very top. And unlike some of the Protoss we have out there today, he was a very consistent Protoss player, focused on the macro, a shield Protoss rather than the YOLO toss that we sometimes see. In fact, I'd probably liken his playstyle currently or previously, and probably was the inspiration for Max Packs, with that very technical, but not afraid of early aggression, kind of adept Oracle, in this case, Void Ray, to start things off. Though he does have an Oracle out there, followed up. Brent, is he just gonna fly in? Well, that's convenient. Gets away with the Oracle, tries to get some more. Void Ray taking a lot of damage. Didn't take out the Overlord either, so a bit of an awkward start. Though the main point of the Void Ray early is to deny that information. It is to deny any sort of follow-up. And now, a Shady Bunch build, where you just put a bunch of Adepts out there with your first Warpins in order to keep the Zerg honest. There's no glaives. There's not that much in support, but the existence of the Oracle and the Void Ray make it hard for the Zerglings to chase it down off creep. Because without the support of the all-important... Wow! Using the Roach Warren against DRG, who was killing his own Zerglings instead of going for the Adepts. A bit of an awkward start. Has to build a whole bunch more lanes, but Trap will get out with 4 of the Adepts, acceptable losses, and now using the Void Ray alongside the Oracle to make sure he can clear up the creep. So, a good start there. Losing 2 Adepts and forcing out this many Zerglings. I'm sure DRG was perfectly happy to make Zerglings, of course. But having so few to start things off means that his economy kind of hamstrung at this stage, and that wasn't intended to do real damage. It's only there to keep the Zerg from being able to explode in the drone count before you can get your tech back at home. Trap, you can see, is getting his +1, his blink, the usual suspects here, and a robo relatively quickly behind it, and already moving out with those soon-to-be blink stalkers. Another phase of that continued attempt to keep the Zerg at bay. And the Queen's caught between a bit of a rock and a hard place here, but the Zergling's working on it. Make sure we keep tabs on those rocks. Now, the Revelation is all the detection he has at the moment. 4th base is on the way. Trap has scouted it, so it's not going to come as a surprise. He knows he has to factor that in. Looks like he just wants to take a 4th base himself and starts a Robo Bay immediately. So not opting for that heavy blink aggression, but instead going to attempt Colossi? An interesting... Honestly, the Robo Bay is a bit ambiguous here. He doesn't have a second Robo. You don't need a Robo Bay to go for Immortals. Having it is good, but it's a distinct choice, separate from the Templar Archives. You don't have, believe it or not, you don't have unlimited money. That we're working on it. Like and subscribe. So, going for the Robo Bay means that is your choice for splash damage. Now we'll just have to see. The Oracle comes in, trying to get a good scout off. Colossus is the first one. 2 or 3 Colossi to start things off. and then transitioning into disruptors can definitely find a timing against a player like DRG, who is usually quite reluctant to go up to Hive, but not this time. DRG already with a Hive on the way, 7 minutes in. Lurker Den as well. Lurker's okay against Colossi. It's a bit of a numbers game. But once the Vipers, that's the real ticket, are able to abduct the Colossi and their spindly legs out of the unit composition, the Lurkers can easily slice them up and knock them down. So, there's the Templar Archives. Looks like the Robobay just the next step. You gotta... Hey! Susan! Stop it! Oh my god! Sorry, the Queen's... DRG having some issues with his units, disputing. Pretty sure that's Heart of the Swarm lore accurate, but thought they solved that a while ago. But Trap with a sizable army up against Hydra, Ling, Roach with no upgrades, no basic upgrades. Missile attack level 1 about to complete, but it ain't there yet. So, keeping control of the creep and keeping the Zerg at bay. Again, the objective here for Trap, who's not going for some sort of big all-in timing, is just trying to keep DRG controlled until he can get that maxed out army composition. But DRG showing a... I don't want to say uncharacteristic, but a surprising initiative when it comes to going for Hive. Maybe he just knows Trap likes that late game tech, but this is probably the quickest I've seen him go Hive since this entire year. And now we'll have the Vipers out. He's playing to win against this army. And with Lurker range about halfway done and the Vipers already on the field, he's got all the tools to do so. But using them is obviously the more important part. There are no Templar yet. Storm on the way. If he does have Templar, they're back at home. So that means no feedbacks for the Vipers. No way to keep them from getting their spells off, besides taking them out ideally with the Blink Stalkers. Some charge launch to drag the army out of position. It's been a lot of jockeying back and forth across the map with Trap. Oh, the water balloon's not helping much, but the cannon's definitely doing so. Tries to target the Templar, but the shield battery patting it on the back. Doesn't actually kill the hatchery to the south. Get over here! I don't know what was in that Templar, but nothing anymore. Can you abduct out of a recall? It doesn't really matter. Another one! Yanks in an Immortal from downtown. Storm is done. There's the feedback on the second Viper, but the Lurkers already got quite a concave going for themselves. The Colossi have been removed from the composition. The Templar helping out a lot, but there's only one Immortal in the mix. He's building 2 more. Revelation is good. The Colossus that was recalled finally made it back. And there aren't that many Lurkers here. The Immortal's bashing through, and Trap, with the shield battery overcharge, is able to reshield the Colossus and find the angle to knock out the Lurkers. A capable defense despite an awkward start to that engagement. He's able to pull it all together and keep the Lurkers at bay. But the key point is not necessarily stopping the army. That is a point, all right? Not to take it. If you don't stop the army, you lose the game. So that goes without saying. Besides the fact I said it, but moving on. But he hasn't limited DRG's economy. He hasn't. There was no charge lock counter. There were no DTs sent out. What that means is there's another one of the same armies coming across the map. Adrenal glands, better late than never. A spree of Zergs for getting that upgrade relatively recently. It's always been a tough upgrade to remember if you're not getting it the moment Hive finishes, because it's kind of expensive, and it's not obvious if you have it until you're watching Zerglings attack, which even someone like DRG is gonna struggle to do at this stage of the game. The charge lots are running by that hatchery, already softened up earlier, now easily cut through. Now that's the kind of counter damage. He's gonna go down the center line here, splits, and DRG backs off. He likely would have lost all of those Lurkers, but it could have cost Trap a significant amount. Does he have? He has both Lurker upgrades, Adrenal Glands on the way, but a Warp Prism sneaking by to the north side, and Trap puts the army together to deal with the Lurkers on the field. So things going a bit sideways now. The Warp Prism being cushioned by the Hydras and taken down, but some of the Charge Louts manage to wander their way forward into the 4th base. Meanwhile, DRG with some Lurkers on top of the southern base. And here we go again. Yanks in the Immortals but storms wash across the front line. Blinding cloud on the back. More lurkers. There's still detection. Trap bashing through every lurker. There's still plenty of Immortals and plenty of Archons. There's a mothership on the way, but there isn't enough army from DRG to continue dealing with this. There's just too much Protoss. The Zealots still going to work on what is now the 4th base. Immortals coming down. Trap may be losing his 4th base as well. DRG has to hold his natural. That's where all the tech is. That's where the rest of his army is popping out. He has very limited time to slap together a defense, and the storms are already dismantling it. There's another Colossus, and he yanks it into a safer position, which, thank you, says Trap. And DRGG, as Trap is able to take game 1. Pretty convincing fashion as well. A bit of an awkward start, but turns it around and pushes DRG back across the map. At no point was DRG able to get anything done. I don't count splitting off 20, 30 supply of your army and then losing the fight because of it as getting something done. In fact, sending out those extra lurkers may have cost DRG, who's obviously struggled with the lurker phase of the game. So Trap showing that consistent, and that was just middle of the road. Nothing committed, but also not passive. There's a big difference between being passive and being defensive. All right, and in fact, it wasn't either one, but a lot of people conflate the idea of being defensive with sitting in your base to 200 supply, building a bunch of carriers. There's a big difference. And Trap showing that you don't have to continually be attacking in order to keep the pressure on. Not really, honestly, I don't think there were more than a dozen units dying in the first 7 minutes of the game. But it felt like Trap was keeping DRG busy and slowing down. And if he hadn't slowed DRG down as much as he did, well, that lurker attack could have hit a minute earlier. And if it hits a minute earlier, well, Trap is probably dead. So all the pieces coming together, showing that Trap is still, not still, he's been playing. This isn't the first series back. He's been playing for a few months now, since he came back. But he hasn't been able to find quite the level of success that he had before going to his military service. But he's been finding more and more wins against these players. Now, obviously, DRG still has a shot here. And I think it's very hard, like, I compare Protoss, especially in the late game against top-tier players, to kind of like building a PC. Where, if you don't have all the pieces, it's probably not going to work right. If you don't have Guardian Shields, if you don't have a Warp Prism, if you don't have Immortals and Archons, if you don't have a Charge Lock counterattack, if you don't have the upgrades, if you don't have your defenses set up well, all these things are potential weak points. Not to say that Zerg and Terran don't have the same issues, but honestly, not nearly to the same extent, because Protoss units are so incredibly powerful when used perfectly, and so terrible when not. I mean, there's a lot of examples of Protoss units literally doing nothing if you don't use them, which is relatively rare for their counterparts on Zerg and Terran. Templar, Oracles, to an extent Adepts, just A-moving, units that disruptors. If you do nothing, you're just A-move. They're more than useless, as they cost money to build. It's like, yeah, but technically Templar have an auto attack that does less DPS than a probe. Well, then why aren't we bringing the probes to fight if all we're doing is A-moving? It's gonna be the huge. No, we're not doing that. In fact, like, the Stargate into, well, the Void Ray is the, we gotta get excited about something. The Void Ray variant has cropped up more and more lately. Trap not doing it now. He's opting instead for the Moracles, in probably 3 of them in total. But the Void Ray, especially on a map like Ghost River, where there's only a certain amount of places you can hide that Ovi. Here on Alcyone, or Alcyone, depending on what I'm Googling today, they're likely going to know what you're doing. You're not hiding anything. You're not going to be able to keep much control of the creep in the same way you can on Ghost River. The rush distance and the ability to circumvent the normal attack paths is so high that the oracles are just better at... Oh my. So slick. So dead. Get off my creep. Okay, Brenda. All right, they killed a bunch of drones. Yeah, but we got them. Yes. Yeah. Shut up, Karen. Shut up. Shady bunch coming across with the oracles in tow. It is a very the potential for this to do damage is always so high, but I don't think that was the move. A full shade in, the queen surround, only 2 drones, 3. It's gonna cost all of the adepts. The oracle's now coming in to try to help out, but 5 drones for all of the adepts. If I'm rooting for Trap here, that does not spark joy. Oracle's come back around. The Oracle Micro has been immaculate. Well, besides... Okay. The attacking and the, like, micro... No, okay, well... Okay, well, the Oracle Micro has not been immaculate. I'd like to rescind my previous statement. The actual Micro, when he was controlling them against the drones, was great, but the losing them for almost no reason was not as good. So I'm gonna temper that statement a bit. I don't know what's going on with the wall off there. Bit of an odd one. Anyways, DRG says you have no oracles. I'm just gonna bust you. And busting makes me feel good. As now, here comes 10 banelings plus 1 melee. You gave DRG the opportunity to make a whole bunch of lings and banes by losing those oracles. And now it looks like DRG is ready to make you pay the price for it. All right, rolling in. Well, not even rolling, just waddling in. The probes are on the run. And the Nexus will probably die here at the very least. The baneling's just zoning out, and that's it. He just walks in and kills them. Okay. Well, that's all over with. That was a bit embarrassing. So, that consistency I was talking about for Trap. At least we got a demonstration there. As for every game, we see this perfect masterclass in top-tier Protoss play. There seems to be another game where it all just kind of falls apart. And that puts us all evened up at 1-1. Side Delta. That was a bit lazy on the Trap. Like, you can't just lose the oracles. That's the whole part. That's the whole build. Is the oracles early. He lost all of his units, and then surprise Pikachu face the Zergling show up, and just kill everything. So that is the reason why. That is a very simplistic reason of why you can't just lose the oracles. But I'm glad we relearned that lesson just to make sure. The first priority of the oracles is to scout. The second priority is to make sure you don't die, partially by scouting and partially by defending whatever you scout. The third priority is to keep control of the drone count, and the creep. Just kind of keep tabs on everything. The fourth priority is to protect your expansions. And then the fifth one is to just outright kill things. The sixth one, Well, the fact that there are 5 priorities at least for those oracles means when you don't have them, you're missing a whole lot of checkboxes. So, it can't be understated. The oracle has to wear almost as many hats for the Protoss as the queen does for the Zerg. It is that critical to the entire early game. The only difference is, without queens, Zerg just loses, whereas without oracles, well, if you want a different tech, obviously a glaive to depths have an option. But if you do go down that road, you can't just do a 180 on the highway. Alright, now we see. What's it gonna be? Please don't make me regret investing time casting this series, Trap. I'm like, Trap versus DRG, what year is it? 2018? It hasn't been a decade. I don't... No. Well, DRG decides he actually doesn't want to go. No. So it comes out, how about 5 of them? There's still an oracle. In fact, he didn't even send it across. He just kept it back at home this time. Eventually, we'll kill the Overlord. Warp gate's finished up. 2 gases quickly at the natural, indicating likely tech behind. There's the Forge. Twilight coming up next. Oracles burning through the Spore is perfectly on time. So far, so good for DRG. He did make a few extra drones early, but I mean a few extra lings. So his drone count has kind of limited itself. And those lings know the oracles on the other side of the map. Gonna chase down the Adept Shade. Not sure what he expected there, but oracles are heading back. DRG droning up. He's got the lair on the way now, realizing that the 3rd base is likely going to be well defended. The natural's kind of vulnerable, but oh my. Revelation slapped down. 2 more gases on the way. There's a Templar Archives this time around. It's just a stalker at the wall like that. Surprised DRG ain't testing the waters there, but charge. Wait, charge? Charge Templar Archives. It took a second to register. Rushing into likely Storm, but there's also a possibility. He hasn't cut probes, so there's also a possibility of just a straight-up charge lot Archon attack. There's no Roach Warren done yet. He just started it. And now working on some of the drones here. Again, great micro out of Trap. Just gotta be careful not to overstay your welcome. It's an art form that, Oracle micro against drones while maintaining the acceleration. Just the slip and slide. No storm. Which means he's going to be storming the front with charge lots and Archons. It's going to be knocking on the door and see if the queens have enough to answer. Trap still, well, a little awkward at home. The charge is done. No +1. Gets through the shield battery, potentially softening up for later. Oracles come back to defend. DRG now making some roaches, but they're not out yet. And just starting roach speed. I assume there's a warp prism somewhere nearby. Yep, the warp prism just warped in another round. Trap has 60 probes. He's building more, so that means he intends on teching up and progressing still after this. But he's got an opportunity to do a lot of damage here. He's already taken out the 4th base, and the 4th base is a key part of any imbalanced breakfast for the Zerg. Without that 4th, if you're going for such a larva-intensive unit composition, like roaches and lings, well, very simply, you do not have enough larva. All right, you're not going to be able to spend that money that you're gathering on 3 bases. In fact, DRG, well, shouldn't be supply button. I think he's kind of deciding. Does he want to actually build units now? Or are we drawing... What? Swarm House? Sir Richard and his merry band of Swarm Host brethren? You know, I don't hate it. He's not going Hive. He's decided Swarm Hosts are the way. And against this more short range, and that's being nice to the Zealots, ground-based composition, if Trap actually sits back and defends, The Swarm Host could very well be the answer. A more rare choice, but not as rare as they once were. And the Queens? I don't like them watching. What do you mean? Shh, don't worry about it. Observers taken down, and now the Swarm Hosts have yet to be revealed. The first wave is going to be, so he's not going Nidus Swarm Host, he's just trundling across the map. All right. The Warp Prism may be the very first thing to scout it. He's gonna see it. Oh my. And now a Nidus on the way. Oh my god, the roaches got slaughtered. The roaches on the right flank while he was microing the Swarm Host. But DRG comes in. He doesn't kill. Wait, he maybe gets one probe, it looks like. So the first Swarm Host wave doing okay. And most importantly, it was on Trap's side of the map. He didn't have to use it defensively, and that's how momentum is created. No hive on the way. He is maxed out. DRG, you could just build a hive. You're allowed to do that. It's like, but a game when I lost when I built a hive, so therefore, not worth it. That's... Well, Oracle's just having a free-for-all against the Ravagers. Starting to run out of energy. The Swarm Host to the north side. Contaminate. Tactical goop. Delaying production of +2 ground attack. Helpful. And Trap. Does he have Storm? He does. There's no Templar nearby. Force Field is optimistic, as he's just going to go through the Nexus. Oh, huge Force Field. Massive storms. But more Ravagers coming through. DRG going with the quantity being quality all its own situation. A Warp Prism drop with plenty of Templar inside. More force fields, which the Ravagers are supposed to be the counter to, but not really working out here practically. Thing is, though, Trap keeps taking damage. He finally feels like it's time to counterattack. There are 27 more roaches on the way. There's no hive tech at all. Blink is in production for Trap, which gives him a lot more options in dealing with the Swarm Host, but is also quite an expensive choice, and not the Blink itself, the Stalkers. Another wave of Swarm Hosts headed for the third, and Trap is at risk of having his economy whittled down to almost nothing, in which case it doesn't matter too much how many units are thrown in. He comes in, he can actually just drop him down all over the Nexus. He's going straight for the Nexus, and there's no chance of saving it. The storms are a bit late. And DRG up to the north side. Oh my. DRG comes in, almost knocks out another one. Trap is just sitting back. His army is still very good, but he's running out of economy. Every single one of these units he loses. DRG can trade dozens of roaches for each of these Immortals and Archons and replace them. He doesn't have a ton of drones, but he has money in the bank. Oh my god. The only thing he could do that could end in disaster is keep going up and down a ramp into Immortals and Storm. Which, I guess it could be up a ramp and it would be worse. But that's about the only scenario. As, you know, the Storms onto the Swarm, or the Locusts, the Swarm Host babies. DRG still no hive. Because he's decided he tried... Oh, there we are. He tried it once, didn't like it. Now, working on this, there are storms ready. And he gets the Nexus. Another costly fight. More massive storms. Ridiculous storms. Where's the Warp Prism to save the day? And the roaches just bashing their way through. The sheer weight of this army composition. Trap is under siege. A single adept. DRG showing what he wants to do here. Just waves. A tower defense style. Except he's the creeps. And he's got plenty of it out on the field. 14 more roaches. The Swarm Host. He hasn't lost a single one. Another wave of locusts just preemptively cancels the Nexus like it's StarCraft Ghost. And now the locusts on the ground just melting through the probes. Trap is getting a bit desperate to get something done. The Immortals How many? 8 Immortals. Plenty of Templar. It's do or die time. It's been trending in the second direction. 13 more roaches on the way, but this is +3. Trap has an army that can... His army is worth more than DRG's by a significant margin. And these units are about as hard of a counter as you can get while still technically being able to fight each other. There goes the Nidus network. He still has some of the worms, and he has the Swarmos on the high ground. The storms, he's done a great job holding on to Templar, so he has 4 or 5 more storms here. And even if that Carapace upgrade gets denied, it doesn't matter too much against the storms. Here come the Locusts. More storms across the board. On the ramp, at the front, gets through the Locust easily. The ramp is just, he's melting him. /G. Trap, just, wow. The Zerg are annihilated. That wasn't even close. DRG starts the fight at 200 supply almost. And ends it. Trap, what did he even lose? He lost like an Archon, maybe a few Zealots. But I think Trap started that fight, ended that fight with more supply than he started it. And that means I'm extra excited to go into our anti-spoiler bonus game against Oliveira. Don't go anywhere. You're not allowed to leave. All right. Trap also played against Oliveira, but we're going to take a look at least one of those games. But I do want to see how his Protoss versus Terran is going. But DRG getting locked into Roach Swarmos and Trap just letting him wash up against it. Wow. Alright, well. Trap versus Oliveira. TVP, a very different matchup than, of course, Protoss versus Zerg, though you can probably use many of the same principles. Trap going with the Reaper wall against it. Oliveira quickly becoming... I think he's kind of a specialist still. Maru against everyone who isn't Cyril. Same with, Clem against Cyril. Oliveira, though, practicing with Cyril obviously has had some benefits. Which, he isn't as strong in the Terran versus Protoss matchup as in Terran versus Zerg, because there's literally no one better to practice with in the world. I don't know if he's asked Max Packs to practice. But it clearly has shown dividends for Oliveira. Being the only person, he's taken twice as many games off of Cyril as the entire rest of the world this year. The entire rest of the world being the one game that Dark won at Katowice. Oliveira taking 2 and almost going for 3 out of 5. In if you haven't watched those games, it's probably somewhere in the recommended bar. With a clickbait title that is not really clickbait because it is the best StarCraft I've ever seen, but gotta get those clicks somehow. Like and subscribe. As for this game, Trap he just sat there and took it. And I think he knows DRG. Like, DRG gets kind of target locked. He's decided. He's one of the fastest Zergs still to this day. But when he decides he's doing a unit composition, well, that's his retirement goal. Is I'm going to win this game with a Roach Swarm host or die trying. It's like, I don't know. He's got a lot of Immortals and Archons. It doesn't seem like an ideal. It's like, no. I will throw 500 more Roaches in before building a Viper this game. It's like, all right. Well, we'll see how that goes for you. Okay. But it's Terran versus Protoss. We gotta adjust. So far, one probe has died. I assume to a Reaper. Maybe existential dread, but I'm not sure if probes are capable of that. Continually scouting in. Interference Matrix on the Ravens from Oliveira, which actually will help out since a Robo Bay is on the way. Robo Bay is 90% of the time the choice. The reason Templar Archives is not nearly as common as a follow-up as in this matchup as any other is ghosts exist, for one. And two, it's very expensive to get Templar with Storm. It's just unreliable. Archons can be kited by bio, and you don't even need the ghost to help out against them. Storms are unreliable. Medevacs exist. It's unlikely you're going to be able to kill enough units with Storm, at least when they're prepared at all for it, to justify the investment. Whereas Colossi are a bit easier to get to, and while maybe not as much initial damage potential, they work well with the Blink Stalkers, and they force a certain response. Enough Colossi, and you're required to get Vikings. You're required to get this late-game army composition. You can no longer fight on the ground. That number's about 3 Colossi. Past that point, unless you have a huge upgrade advantage or a much better position, 3 Colossi are enough to melt through endless waves of bio. Assuming, again, like the upgrades and are comparable, the supplies are as well. Templar eventually get added in, though we've been seeing less and less of it, as while EMP is still able to wipe out all of the energy and shields, it becomes very impractical to use Templar, which costs more in gas than Ghosts as well. That's where disruptors come in. A disruptor and a dream. But here we are. Infantry weapons, level 1. Concussive shells finishing up. There is a Colossus. That Raven, though, Interference Matrix was a very good prediction. He may be able to scramble one of those Colossi. Trying to box out the Raven. Trap goes for the snipe, but both Colossi are scrambled. And Trap is getting run down. Wow, it's an absolute disaster. Shield battery overcharge, more like no-overcharge. And, well, the Colossus will hold. And Oliveira with a decisive attack timing. 15 probes dead. The army will be cleaned up. It was so close, but he was able to cast both interference matrices. The saving grace here is that Trap does have 3 bases. He does already have 6 gateways. He's already upped that gateway production to a point where it's somewhat competitive. So he can rebuild the probe count. He does have enough gateway units. It hurts. That was rough. But he also lost that initial Raven. He lost the ground army, and that means Oliveira is not going to be able to come across easily in the near future. Thus, sending out a Widow Mine drop of all things. He actually made 4 mines and decided to send it out. I'm not sure if he was building up to this as a follow-up beforehand, or if he expected maybe like a big charge lot play. But anyways, he's still building Widow Mines here. More mines, 2 in the 3rd base. Offers up the ritual sacrifices. 1 more mine in the main. Targets 1 of the Stalkers. Gets it after the blink. But overall, loses the medevac and all 4 mines. That didn't do much at all. It kept Trap busy. It killed a few workers, but the investment. An EMP, who needs a scan, takes out the Observer. And Oliveira's ready to come across again. Trap. He showed some top-tier defense up against DRG, and he's going to have to do it again. As, again, Oliveira's coming across with an army that is well-equipped to dismantle what Trap has here. 4 Vikings, any amount of Ghosts, plus 1 is not quite done for Trap yet. Trying to get some swipes off. EMP lands, Vikings helping out. There's no pylon on the low ground here. Gets rid of the Widow Mines, but the Nexus itself may fall. But Trap actually warps in another round of charge left. Loses the Nexus. Good blink micro. The Colossus does go down, but again, Oliveira trades a lot of army supply in order to get the base. And this time he does have a 4th base behind, but somewhat awkwardly, now his ground army is pretty lackluster. Trap has plenty of gateway units, and there's not that much back at home. There is real potential, at the very least here, to deny the 4th base. I don't know if he's going to have enough to actually win a fight, but disruptors certainly can help with that. Oh, Widowmine actually got in the range. Disruptor shot. Oliveira doesn't care. No respect. Second shot, though, forces a little more. The charge lots are coming in a bit out of desperation. He's chasing down the Ruptor, but in come the charge lots to the natural. There is still a bunker. An EMP. He's trying to get up the ramp. He does so, but the depots are raised. Scrambles back to defend. Recalls out the charge lots, and actually will get out with the majority of them. So Trap doing a good job of keeping Oliveira at bay. Another base, he actually lifts it. SCVs will repair. A few of them gonna go down. Trap has his 4th base back up, and a 5th base as well. Blink Stalker, shift blinking out. The medevacs are like, would you guys just calm down as the bio army stims back and forth? There's actually an observer in place to see the army shifting around. So Trap going toe-to-toe right now. Even though it looks like Oliveira keeps winning these battles in some fashion, Trap has a lot of momentum towards winning the war. Though the Widowmine softening up the charge lots. Disruptors are too close! And he wanders a little bit too close, and those disruptors having a tough time, but the charge lots come back around. Ghost, point blank range, will get taken out. Bio comes back. Still only 6 gates, going up to 8 back at home. Building 5 probes at a time was trapped for a moment there. Up to 73, which is about as good as you're gonna get on these bases for now. But Oliveira starting to rebuild that momentum. He shut down the charge lots. He knocked out a couple more Ruptors. He's building +2 infantry weapons and armor. He's getting more medevacs out onto the field. A scan to the north. He doesn't know about Trap's 5th base, which could end up being a very important part of things. The War Prism on the run, optimistic, but not going to be able to get through the Vikings. So, Oliveira is getting that top-tier Terran army that you want to have in the late game. +3. Plenty of Vikings. Whole lot of Marauders. Enough medevacs to keep everything together with Ghosts scattered in to cut down the effective HP of the army. Another Disruptor found out on the field and will be taken out without a shot fired, but another Disruptor easily popped. Charge lots from the back. EMP cleaves through the Stalkers. The Terran army looks like it's getting surrounded, but he then gets the charge lots between a rock and a hard place. The Vikings hit the deck, and the charge lot count is actually so high. I'm not sure what Trap's doing with the charge lots, but he's making so much progress with them. It feels like they're doing a lot more. I would like to go back. I wanna see from his perspective. It really feels like those charge lots shouldn't have done nearly as well. Is there any micro there? No, what he's doing is warping in mid-fight so that way he always has as much as possible. In fact, when he realizes there's nothing left to be done, I think that might be why. It's just, he's making so many. And he's getting them into the fight before Oliveira's able to reinforce. The Marauder count is so damn high, but they're not quite as good against the charge lots. If there are overwhelming numbers. Concussive shells can kite if you have the supply advantage. Is that a mortal stuck? I don't think so. There are more mortals out of the field, so it's just the rally point there. Wait. Yeah. Well, I think Trap had that idea for a split second till he realized basic logic. Like, how did the other immortals get out? Some charge lots getting chased down. Trap expanding all over the map. 85 probes. He's got 10 gates, double robo. And Oliveira streaming units across the map. The Ghost caught in front. EMPs will land. Immortal's going to be caught. Trying to micro back to some extent here. Having a tough go of it. Saves the second Immortal. Huge moves. More army coming back. The Terran army pretty badly bruised. A lot of the medevacs out of energy. And juggling back. Another Warp Pit. The Immortals. The Warp Pit micro. Or the Warp Prism micro, rather. Doing so much here. He keeps it together, but Oliveira's supply Look at it. 159 to 127. The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for Trap right now, unless he's able to turn this around. There are no disruptors on the field, though. Everything he has is a pretty known quantity. Oh. Ends up losing. I'm not sure if he lost a Stalker, but there's definitely a dead Stalker there. Fusion Core. On the way for the Liberators. Ghosts. Oliveira has 3-3 done. That's maximum upgrades for the Bio Army. And now, without disruptors or an absolutely incredibly advantageous fight, Trap is about to be trapped himself. And not in a good way. Just gets crushed on the field. The Marauders and Marines closing in. Is able to juggle a Colossus away. A bit awkward. Manages to get out. Surprised he doesn't have Prism speed at the moment. Not that he can afford much. Still 87 probes. Trap has 3,800 minerals a minute. Like, it's a ridiculous economy, actually. Caduceus Reactor on the way. I do love Darren's going for that. Gumio and Oliveira, notably. Caduceus Reactor doubles the energy regen of Medivacs, which, when you're this addicted to stims, you need your enablers. And those Medivacs are here for it. Honestly, well, there's no Liberator, so no point in getting advanced ballistics now. Whoa, no, a scout! Oh, that's just a sad recall. The realization, and then the recallization, and then the shame. Most importantly, the shame. Juggles back. The scouting Immortals and Colossi are a bit much. 12 gates up. Trap is about as close as he's going to get to 200 supply. He's going to try to take this fight. The Warp Prism is knocked down by the Vikings, so no microing back here. The Medivacs. Oh, they don't have much energy. The Warpins on both sides, but there's just nothing left. Oliveira with a command of the game. Trap with some great ideas there, actually. And a level of Warp Prism micro we don't usually see. But Oliveira just too consistent. He built... Like, that was textbook from him. He built all the right units at the right time and used them well. Not even flashy micro. Not crazy stutter step. Just on top of it with the decision making. And Trap not able to keep up. A few little mistakes here and there make all the difference. But still, I think Trap definitely a welcome re-addition to the Protoss roster in current year. And I'm looking forward to more. Let me know if you are as well. But hopefully you enjoyed. And if you got the means of motivation, be also check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. So thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Haven't you checked out the second channel for streams and some of those other games I've heard about? Winter Gaming TV. You can just type it into the thing or look in the description. But otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.